Lunch consisted of lukewarm water. We had to bring lunch with us because we were maybe about several hundred feet away from the entrance of the camp. It was cold, a watery soup. We were lucky if you found in it a turnip, a tomato, a potato, whatever. Otherwise, just cold water. That's all for lunch. Half an hour for lunch, back to work. Afternoons were worse. The guards were more vicious. They were wet. It snowed often, and they were cold, and they really took it out on the prisoners. Many prisoners just simply fell down to the ground. They just couldn't do the work anymore. So we sort of went dragging ourselves until the end of the day. End of the day, we returned back to the camp. As we entered the camp, the music was played, and again we had to march in a military fashion. We counted and went back to our barracks. However, we were not allowed to enter the barracks until all the camps were counted. There were 5 large camps in Auschwitz, about over 10,000 prisoners in each one of the camps. It took hours for this to take place. Most probably the most difficult time and period of the day was this evening counting. Well, eventually all clear sounded and we returned back to our barracks. In the barracks, dinner was served. Dinner consisted of a 4-inch square piece of bread, very unappetizing. One day there was a bit of margarine, the next day a piece of sausage, the third day a spoon of jam. That's all for food. Not enough to really be able to do the hard work the Germans expected us to do. But they really didn't care. If so many prisoners were coming in, some couldn't do the work, were exterminated, new ones were brought in. So how do you survive in Auschwitz or surroundings like this? More food. And that was my job from the minute I devoured the dinner. I went around looking for more food. And how do you find more food in a concentration camp? Well, there were some prisoners that were better treated than the newcomers, who survived Auschwitz for 2 or 3 years, got special rations. He didn't sleep on the shelving. He had a special cot to live on it. They were sort of a specialized and more preferred prisoners. Well, they also got double or triple ration of food. As soon as I spotted these fellows, I approached them and I said, could you use a servant? I would do your cleaning, I would mend your socks, I would do whatever you want me to do for a little extra food. So 2 or 3 of the guys hired me as a servant, and I was getting slightly amount of extra food. However, a lucky thing occurred to me. In each one of our barracks, there was always a German citizen as a supervisor. Hitler closed all of the prisons and brought all his criminals to the concentration camps and used them as supervisors. They received the title of couple. They had a different uniform and they had great freedom and they had all the food they wanted to eat. Now, don't forget that such tremendous amount of trains arrived every day to Auschwitz, and all those people thought that they were being resettled. And therefore they brought bread, sausages, hard-boiled eggs, and all the things that would travel with them to take care of them during the trip and possibly in the new resettlement. Once they entered Auschwitz, of course they were told to leave everything behind and step outside and be processed into the camp. After they were processed, other prisoners were sent into the trains, emptied it, and all the food that was left over was distributed among the capos and the factories that were built all around Auschwitz. So our capo received fantastic amount of good breads and sausages and various other things and conserves. I remember when the Hungarian Jews were brought into the camp, we received some of the finest food I think I ate in my life. And this couple, this particular couple in our barracks wanted to learn how to speak English. You wonder, why would a couple want to speak English? Well, he was sure that Germany would win the war, and soon enough they would enter England, and he might be sent to be a couple in an English concentration camp. And he thought that would be a prudent thing for him to learn English in advance. So he sent the word throughout the camp, who can teach him English? Well, remember, I took English in high school, and I said, well, I'll volunteer. I volunteered, and he took me as his teacher. And that changed my life. Of course, Capo had a great prestige in a camp, so he told me, you don't have to go to work anymore, you stay here with me. and he would teach me English. And then, of course, he fed me all the food that you received. Eat as much as you want to. He got a new outfit for me. My life really improved. But another lucky thing occurred. Large corporations were coming into Auschwitz looking for qualified labor. Siemens Electric Company, one of the world's leaders in electric manufacturing, came to Auschwitz looking for tool and die makers. Remember, I learned that profession in our business, so I applied. I went through examination, and I passed. And I was taken out of Auschwitz. And really, this is how come that you're able to see me today standing in front of you, because I did not spend all my time in Auschwitz. I was working in a factory. I was treated very well. I improved my skills as a tool maker because the company fed us well and they treated us quite well. However, the war was slowly coming to an end. Russia broke through the Eastern Front and approached Auschwitz. The Germans destroyed all the crematoriums and gas chambers and transferred me to another camp. I was sent to a camp called Buchenwald. Buchenwald was a camp in the western part of Germany, a huge quarry, very dangerous type of work. However, by that time, the Americans have destroyed so many cities near Buchenwald that instead of sending me to the quarry, I was put on the trains and sent to various towns to clear the rubble after the bombardment so the traffic can pass. And again, there was I able to find extra food, the most important things in the life of every prisoner. Some of the buildings weren't completely destroyed, and in the semi-destroyed kitchens were able to locate extra food. However, Siemens, well-organized company, located me in Buchenwald and had me transferred to Berlin. I was sent to Berlin and worked in the headquarters of them in Siemensstadt. We lived in a camp several blocks away from the factory. It was a huge complex, maybe 5 or 6 blocks. I was employed in a second shift. However, by this time, the Americans have an absolute superiority of air over Berlin. Every day in the morning, about 10:30 in the morning, the American planes would come up, destroy part of Berlin, and fly away. Same thing in the evening. At about 10:30, 10:45, the British night bombers would come, do the same thing. Berlin ceased to exist. It happened so that by about 10:30, our foreman would come around and says, "Okay, boys, lock up your toolboxes. The Brits will be here any moment." Well, one night, the Brits did come with apparently instructions of destroy Siemens. I was sent to the shelters and survived the bombardment, but they did an unbelievable job. Sometimes you can see it in the movies. I don't think there was a stone left on top of another. Siemens ceased to exist. Of course, I was out of work, and I returned back to the barracks waiting what's going to happen. A couple of days later, more American planes flew over our camp and dropped incendiary bombs. There was about over 1,000 prisoners in the camp, so we went through the trenches, open-side trenches, awaiting, of course, the completion of bombardment. The camp was made of wood and burned very quickly. A few minutes later, smaller planes arrived. And sometimes you see it in television, in the movies, and you think that this is Hollywood made. But I witnessed it. Unbelievable marksmanship of American airmen. All the guards were in the towers, and the prisoners were in the trenches. And the pilots were able to shoot down most of the guards. About 80 to 90% of the guards are either dead or wounded, and not a single prisoner was killed. A true miracle. Well, when all clear sounded, I could have escaped. But I was in the middle of Berlin, no money, shaved hair, tattoo on my hand. I said, what do I do? I'll wait what happened. Well, police came in soon, rounded us up, and took me to the last camp, Sachsenhausen.